PubOS is currently one of the most popular Linux distributions based on Ubuntu. This distribution offers a range of advantages that can significantly enhance user experience and productivity. With its modern and clean interface, it provides excellent hardware support, especially when it comes to Nvidia graphics cards. For users who have Nvidia graphics cards, PubOS Nvidia version is available, which comes with pre-installed Nvidia drivers. In addition, the creators of this Linux distribution have put significant effort into optimization, which results in improved performance. When you visit the official website, the link will be in the video description, and click the download button, you will get the option to download either the standard version or the version with the Nvidia driver. There is also an ARM, Advanced RISC Machine version, both with or without the Nvidia driver, so choose the appropriate version according to the hardware you have. After you download the ISO file, you will need to create a boot disk. If you are using Windows, you can use Rufus for this purpose. If you are using macOS or Linux, you can use Ventoy, Etcher, or any similar program of your choice. Once this process is successfully completed, restart your computer and boot it using the bootable USB drive you just created. When the bootable USB drive loads, you will be presented with a single option: try or install PubOS. As with most Linux distributions, you will first have the opportunity to test this platform. Of course, it is recommended to do so in order to see if it meets your needs and preferences. If after testing you decide that you want to install this distribution on your computer, when you start the installation process, you will first be given the option to choose your preferred language. I will leave English selected, but you should of course choose the option that suits you. Next, we get to choose the keyboard layout we want to use. Here, you can add multiple layouts if you wish. After you make your desired adjustments and click the Select button, you will be presented with the options related to the hard drive where the PubOS will be installed: Clean Install and Custom. If you want to perform the setup yourself, meaning you want to configure partitions, determine the format, set up dual boot and so on, select the Custom option and configure everything according to your wishes and needs. If you want to use the entire disk for the installation of this Linux distribution and have the formatting and partitioning done automatically, choose the first option, Clean Install. Then click the Clean Install button, select the desired disk if you have more than one, and then click the Erase and Install button. After that, you will be given the opportunity to define a name, which will be used to automatically generate a username. However, you can change this if you wish. Then, when we click the Next button, we will need to define a password. It is always recommended to use strong passwords that are a combination of letters, numbers, and special characters. After defining the password and clicking the Next button, we will be given the option to encrypt the hard drive on which PubOS will be installed. If you are installing this Linux distribution on a laptop, encrypting the disk is certainly recommended, because, for example, if your computer gets stolen, your data will be protected. If you want the disk encryption password to be the same as the password for your user account that we previously defined, leave the encrypt password is the same as user account password option checked. If you want to define a separate password for encryption, uncheck that option, then click the Set Password button and define the password. You will need to enter this password every time you turn on or restart your computer, in order to first decrypt your hard drive, after which you will also need to enter your user account password. If you don't want to encrypt the disk, simply click the Don't Encrypt button, after which the installation of PubOS will begin. After the installation process completes successfully, you will need to restart your computer by clicking the Restart Device button. When the computer boots up again, you will first see a welcome message, and you will be given the ability to perform some initial settings. Activate the screen reader option, enable Wi-Fi, change the language and keyboard layout if you wish, as well as increase or decrease the interface size, change the theme, and similar options. Unlike some other Linux distributions that were primarily designed to run as servers, PubOS is specifically designed for desktop computers. The latest version at the time of recording this video, version 24.04, uses its own desktop environment, the Cosmic environment. PubOS offers you many possibilities when it comes to customization. One interesting feature that is very useful if you are using multiple different applications simultaneously is Tile Workspace. For instance, if we now open a couple of applications, as you can see, each one will take up roughly the same space in the central part of the screen, which can cause one application to obscure another. However, if we click on the workspace icon in the top right corner, we will see the Tile Current Workspace option. When we activate this option by clicking the slider, all open applications will be rearranged so that they are visible and each occupies a specific area on the desktop. The space a particular application occupies will be assigned automatically, but if you want to change this, you can do so by moving your mouse to the edge of that application. When the arrow appears, hold down the left mouse button and adjust the size. The other active applications will automatically adapt to the changes you make. And if we close one of the active applications, the others will adjust to fit the free up space. The application that is in focus, that is, the one you are currently using, will have the highlighted edges. Since I have chosen a dark theme, in my case, as you can see, the active application in focus has blue edges. If you want to reorganize the open applications, you can do so by clicking the application you want to move, then simultaneously pressing the Shift and Super key, that is Windows key, and then using the arrow keys on your keyboard to move the application in the desired destination. If you want to return to the classic layout, simply click the slider in the Tile Current Workspace section again. Also, another option available to you when it comes to organizing open applications is Windows Stack. If we open an application, then right-click on it, we will see the Windows Stack option, which, as you can see, can also be activated by simultaneously pressing the Super key and the letter S. Once we have activated this option, all newly opened applications, that is, all applications we open from that point on, will be grouped into a single window. Similar to when you open multiple text documents at once or when you open multiple different web addresses in a web browser. If you want the grouped programs to be separated, that is, to be in separate windows, simply press Super key and the letter S again, or right-click on the window and then go to the Unstack window option. When we click on the accessibility icon in the top menu, we get the option to activate the screen reader to zoom in on the screen, which can sometimes be very useful if we want to see a specific small detail or text with a tiny font. Also, here we can invert colors and enable high contrast. In the top left corner, we have Workspaces and Applications. When we click on Workspaces, we get a list of workspaces. You can create as many as you want, that is, as many as you need. For example, in one we can open Firefox, in another Cosmic Files, and in a third, the terminal. As you can see, if we now click on Workspaces, we get a list of all workspaces we have created. The active workspace has light edges, and you switch to another workspace simply by clicking on it. When it comes to switching from one workspace to another, you can also do this by pressing the Windows key, that is Super key, and then up or down arrow key, depending on which direction you want to move. This allows you to move easily and efficiently between tasks you are working on, which can sometimes be very important from a productivity standpoint. You can also move programs that are open in one workspace to another workspace, and in this way reorganize your layout. All you need to do is click on the desired program with your mouse and simply drag it into the workspace where you want it to be. Unnecessary workspaces, that is, those that remain empty, will be closed automatically. You can see the list of installed applications by clicking on Applications. The installed applications are grouped into 4 logical categories: Library Home, Office, System, and Utilities. If you want to create a new group where you could, for example, place the applications you use most often, you can do that by clicking the Add Group icon, then name the group and click the Save button. Then simply drag the applications you want in this section into the newly created group. When we click the Windows key or Super key, a search segment opens, where you can type the name of the application you want to open, or the name of a specific setting or segment in Linux you are looking for. As you can see, you will get a list of options containing the keyword you entered. You can open the offered options by clicking on the icon or by pressing Ctrl and then the number corresponding to the desired option. When it comes to applications, it should be noted that the creators of this Linux distribution have put effort into creating many of the applications themselves. For example, we have Cosmic Files, Cosmic Terminal, Cosmic Text Editor, and similar. And when it comes to installing new applications, we also have an application specific to this Linux distribution, and that is the Cosmic Store. The icon of this application is located in the Docker menu by default. When we click on it, we first get a list of recommended applications. On the left side, there are logical categories in which all applications are grouped, such as Create, Work, Develop, and similar. If you know the exact name of the application you are looking for, you can click the search icon in the top left corner and type the name of that application. You can see the list of applications that are already installed by clicking the Installed Apps button. You can see the list of applications for which a new version is available by clicking the Updates button. In this section, if you want to update only a specific application, click the Update button below the name of that application. You can download all applications for which a new version is available by clicking the Update All button. After which you will of course need to enter your password to authorize the installation of these applications. In this section, as you can see, there is also system packages, that is, updates related to the system applications. If we choose Cosmic Settings, we get the ability to configure the system itself. If you are using VPN, you can add config file here. You can change the appearance by setting the wallpaper, changing the color, theme, panel appearance, Docker menu, set default applications, configure startup applications, add users, modify settings related to the power management, power and battery, and so on. It is important to note that PopOS has switched to Rust for the new Cosmic Desktop. What does this practically mean? It brings better performance, greater security, and reduced number of runtime errors. Simply put, applications and system components will often run faster, use less computer resources, and the crashes of applications and the system due to internal errors will be less frequent. Previously, some parts of the desktop environment were tightly coupled, meaning that multiple functions were intertwined within the same program or process. If one such program crashes due to an error, it could cause problems for other parts of the system, leading to the entire computer freezing, applications not responding to the commands, and the need for forcefully restarting the computer. After switching to the Rust programming language, the components are now more modular and run as separate processes. For example, the panel, sound system, Bluetooth, process manager, and so on work independently of each other. This means that each part works separately and does not directly share its workspace with other parts. If an error or crash occurs in one part, it can be restarted in isolation, without jeopardizing the other parts. Consequently, the user will not be forced to restart the entire device due to an error in a single process, and potentially lose what they were working on at the time the error occurred. Of course, it is important to emphasize that this modular solution increases stability and reduces the possibility of error. But errors can still occur, that is, it is never possible to eliminate them completely. You can leave any questions, suggestions, and ideas for future video content in the comments. Thanks to everyone who took the time to watch this video. I hope you find it useful or at least informative.